What's up guys, this is Anime Crossover. I'm back with another episode of What If Naruto Was Trained by the Sage of Six Path Part 21. And if you did enjoy the series, give the series a like. And if you're new to my channel and like my content, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more crossover fictions with a twist. Now let's begin this new video.
Chapter 33 is a lucky number when a familiar and very powerful spiritual pressure suddenly arose. Ichigo turned his head quickly with wide eyes. The Gramps? Apparently so. Given that the boss has already fought him, I'd say he's already using his Shikai. Why? He's already powerful without his Shikai activated. For what? The clone just shrugged. I don't know, perhaps it's pride. Do you think something happened at the peace talks? Inquired Orihime. Perhaps, but I'm sure they'll handle it, Clone Naruto replied casually, sipping his drink. Because there was no point in persuading the clone, the trio simply sat down and drank their beverages. The clone Shinobi then asked them a question that had been on his mind. Where's Uryu? Ichigo, Chad, and Orihime exchanged puzzled expressions before exchanging, I don't know, shrugs. Okay, then. Los Angeles International Airport, California, United States of America. A lone man was walking towards his waiting vehicle when he noticed a power surge in the west across the ocean. The man was powerful but thin, with short, spiky blonde hair, and he was dressed nicely in a suit with stripes and a tie with a half-moon faced left. A duffel bag, typical of U.S. military men before and during World War II, was slung over his shoulder with his occupied hand. What ki? He hasn't felt this much ki in a long time. It was massive and powerful, much more so than his father. Sir. The man turned to see one of the organization's agents nearby. Your transport is ready, the agent said after only 3 steps. Sir, do you have anything on your mind? I'm changing our destination. Sir? The perplexed agent inquired, preparing to argue when he detected a gleam in his eyes. Where to? The man did not respond until he boarded his vehicle, a massive shipping vessel. Home. Japan, Tokyo, whoa, Kuroka said, looking northeast in the direction of the force she felt. That's wow. The Nekomata merely giggled as she flew across rooftops at breakneck speed, her mind racing with visions of a certain chakra-wielding blonde. But he is still the one for me. After a few moments, she came to a halt on the ledge of the structure she was on, peering down at the area that was lower than her level. A school with a brick wall encircling it in the newly minted name, Tokyo Metropolitan High School. She senses minor traces of Naruto's chakra in there for some reason, so she guesses he attends this school for cover or some other reason. When the school bell rang, her gaze was drawn to the main gate in the hope of spotting him. However, she discovered 2 children who were younger than Naruto. The first was a brown-haired boy with a bandage under his left eye and a yin-yang badge on his collar, and the second was a blonde girl with long blonde hair and blue eyes. Those 2? Kuroka asked, his face furrowed. Could the girl be a relative? With similar blonde hair and blue eyes, who wouldn't think they were siblings? She followed the 2 adolescents discreetly atop the rooftops, using her stealth and evasion skills, as well as Senjutsu, to conceal her presence. Surprisingly, the girl would always look back and examine the scene, as if she was looking for her or sensed her presence. This drew attention to the young man named Kenichi. What is it, Mew? Do you think someone is following us? I'm not sure, but I definitely feel something, Mew pouted before walked alongside Kenichi. Kenichi fixed his gaze on her. Are you talking about that strange presence we felt not long ago? Something else has bothered her, and she has observed some changes. For the past month, she has noticed a remarkable improvement in her talents. Strength, speed, and reflexes are all growing noticeably after each training session with Naruto. Even though she still couldn't hit him, her abilities had improved noticeably. The biggest surprise, though, was Kenichi himself. His skills were considerably improving, and she could finally get serious about their sparring sessions. Of course, Kenichi became a depressed wreck after hearing Mew was gentle with him, but not anymore. Also, the technique training he'd been working on with Naruto began to show when he managed to fool her, if inadvertently, during one of their spars. If they keep going at this rate, she and Kenichi will be able to handle all of Yami's disciples, protect their friends and loved ones, and continue the Katsujinkan path. A clang was heard from behind Mew, prompting her to turn around and assume her battle posture. Kenichi quickly followed suit after suffering a heart attack as a result of Mew's hasty action. Mew approached with a drawn fist as she reached the origin, which she had already pinpointed behind a garbage. Only to lose her cool when she saw what she saw. Ah, a kitty. A sweat drop landed on Kenichi's brow. Really? A cat? He muttered as a delighted Mew picked up a black cat and snuggled her cheek against it. Mew, that cat most likely belongs to someone. We should find the owners.
Ah, the blonde beauty pouted cutely. Do we really have to?
Kenichi took a small step back to avoid being blinded by her cuteness. Check for a collar. Okay. When she looked at the cat's neck, there was none, and her face lit up with the sweetest smile. Yay. That means you're mine, said the cat, licking her nose and eliciting a squeal from her. Oh, you're so cute. The cat meowed once more. Come on, Kenichi. We've got dinner to cook. A delighted Mew sauntered down the street, followed by a forlorn Kenichi. He caught a glimpse of the cat's face and thought it was smiling for a brief second. Furinji Island in the Sea of Japan. Before enveloping its wielder, a massive sprout of fire burst from the Shinigami leader's weapon. Everyone, except Naruto, who had seen it before, was taken aback and in wonder when the flames reached the top of the shield that surrounded the island. Despite their shields and Issei's scale mail, they could feel the searing heat from the blade and the sudden pressure surrounding them. Man, that's hot! Issei exclaimed from within his dragon armor, which was shielding him from the flames. That's the power of his Zanpakuto, Ryozanpaka. He responded with a low growl. Sounds like you know them. Are you really going to tell me? Not right now. We're going to fight Valley and Albion. Meanwhile, Kateria looked in full disbelief, her arms covering her face, leaving a crack for her to peek through as she tried to absorb what was going on. Meanwhile, Valley remained there, and despite the fact that no one could see it due to his helmet, a mischievous grin threatened to split his face as he anticipated the struggle with the Shinigami once he dispatched Issei. How on earth is this possible? The once erupting pillar of fire quickly swirled towards Issei, receding back to Yamamoto's flame-clad blade, while the severe heat and increased pressure remained as Asia and Yuto battled to maintain standing despite being inside the shield. Valley's only words at the time were, "Awesome. So this is the power of Shinigami's leader," Kateria murmured nervously, her body emitting a hazy green aura around her. How disappointing. Yamamoto's lips curled into a snarl. The disappointment is you, Kateria Leviathan, he said before he and Kateria vanished into the skies above, colliding with a powerful shockwave as a result. Issei looked away from the sky and at Valley, who was staring at him. Shall we? Yes. As a little white dome of energy emerged upon touch of their fists, the battle between the Red Dragon Emperor and White Dragon Emperor began. Tokyo, Japan. Ryozanpaka Dojo. Oh, Hayato, relax. We can all sense it, Akisame replied. He and the masters were standing outside in the gardens, gazing at the sky as the great tremendous two powers were joined by another duo of individual powers. Whoever they are, they're very powerful. Hey. I'd like to fight them, Sakari said, his hands cracking in anticipation as his do-ki flared slightly. Apachai would like to fight opponents, exclaimed the Muay Thai monster, waving his arms like a child. I'd like to. So do I, said the elder before bowing his knees, unable to conceal his pleasure. I'll let you all know how they were. Oh no you don't, said the masters. Kenichi and Mew had just walked into the dojo when they saw the five masters assault the elder in a heap. Sweat drops slid down their slips, even the cat, as the masters struggled to keep the Furinji-style master from fighting an unseen power. What's going on here? After a brief pause, the six masters said, nothing. All right then, Mew said, smiling at them. We have a new guest who will be living with us from now on, she said, raising her arms to show the masters the stray black cat. Everyone, please meet Kuroka. Kuroka? Kenichi wondered. Why Kuroka? The cat purred, "'Cause I like it. And she likes it as well," she said as she cuddled the cat's cheek before letting it jump out of her arms. Now I'm off to prepare dinner. Any special requests? Everyone said, nope, allowing Mew to enter the main building and begin her daily duties. Kenichi's attention was drawn to a cho, and saw the cat, Kuroka, sitting on her hind legs in front of Tochumaru, who looked resolute with stars in his eyes and a pair of small nunchucks in his palm. Is he intimidated by her? A sweat drop formed as Kuroka walked casually past the mouse. When the plainly pained Tochumaru whirled around and chased her with the spinning nunchucks with a booming chew and a startling yowl from a wailing Kuroka, his sweat drop became larger. Yamamoto and Issei versus Kateria and Valley Furinji Island. Yamamoto deflected lightning attacks with fast and fluid strikes while unleashing an arc of flames. Kateria dodged the oncoming fire before charging at her opponent, swinging her staff, which was blocked by Yamamoto's flame-clad blade. Hado number 4. Byakurai. Kateria flew backwards while gripping her staff, dividing the lightning-like blast in half. As a result, she was pushed back, exposing her teeth and becoming increasingly furious. The Shinigami smirked as a result of this. Don't tell me that's all you have. Kateria replied with a powerful wave. Take this. Due to his spiritual pressure, the demonic energy never made it to the Shinigami. Rahhh. Too easy. Yamamoto evaded all of her thrusts, deflecting and diverting some of them. She possesses immense power, but she lacks discipline and patience, which are essential characteristics of a fighter. Yamamoto smashed the butt of his hilt towards her cheek after evading the last stroke, but he missed. But not too amateurish. Damn it! Kateria exclaimed as she swiped her lance many times, sending wave after wave of demonic energy. Too basic. Yamamoto swung his sword, launching another arc of flames at his opponent, who flew higher to dodge it. The flames reached the barrier's edge and exploded upon impact. Kateria, who looked back to witness the fireworks, soon found herself surrounded by a wall of flames, with no way out. No! Kateria cried from within the massive sphere of fire. Yamamoto stated after sheathing his blade and locking his shikai, Jokaku Enjo. He returned to the location of the peace delegation with a shunpo, motioning Michael, Searzex, and Azazel to drop the shield, which they did after a moment. That was disappointing. Amazing, Rias and the others said as they gazed at the orb of flames that encircles the Leviathan. So, this is the power of a Shinigami. Naruto smirked, drawing their attention. He wasn't serious this time, he smirked at their stunned expressions. Don't leave them open or else you'll swallow a bug. Too late, Naruto smirked at Kiba before assuming a solemn expression and gazing up into the sky. Your turn, Issei. Show me what you've got. Meanwhile, Issei and Valley continued their fight, with the former landing a dropkick on the ground. Really? Valley said, a disappointed scowl on his face as his opponent emerged from the crater. Is that really the best you've got? Boost. Issei grunted and pushed the boosters on his back, flying at high speeds before cocking his fist. Valley, on the other hand, just dodged it before kneeing him in the stomach, a couple strikes to the back, and a powerful elbow to send Issei tumbling back down the ground while the dividing gear yelled, divide. Gah. With a weary expression, Naruto merely muttered, ouch. Everyone in the room saw Issei stand up again, panting slightly as he stared at his foe. I almost feel pity for you, Issei. How's that? I mean, you're just a reincarnated low-rank devil who happens to be the weakest host of the boosted gear in history. Rias and her comrades shared Issei's expression of rage, while I happen to be the strongest host of the dividing gear. Boost. And half-blood. Half-blood? Michael and Yamamoto looked at each other, as did Searzex and Azazel. Valley emphasized this by flaring 3 pairs of black bat-like devil's wings behind his white ones, loving the surprise of his listeners. That's right, I'm a direct descendant of Lucifer. The original Lucifer? Rias exclaimed, his voice cracking. Akeno merely shook her head, stunned. I never thought, the clan was thought to be extinct. Apparently not, Naruto said as Valley's gaze fell on him. What's the deal with that look? Don't you know I'm looking for a real fight, a real challenge, Valley remarked. I saw your battle against Zeus and Hades champions and have been itching to fight you ever since. Is that so? Naruto smirked, drawing a raised eyebrow from Valley. I seriously think you're underestimating Issei here. Sure, he's a pervert who wants to sleep with every girl imaginable, a collective, sure, and, yes came from the devils and Azazel, while Issei had a sweat drop as another boost call cried out. However, there is one thing he and I have in common. And that is, Blade. Watch out, Valley. By the time he noticed the White Dragon's warning, the White Emperor's eyes were widening in shock, though no one could see it, as Issei gripped his left arm with a white, serrated double-edged blade spewing a great deal of holy energy. The courage to defend those close to you and the determination to fight until your last breath. Issei swung the blade of Ascalon down with a grunt, a trail of holy energy trailing after the double-edged sword as he sucked blood from his astonished and pained opponent. Pacific Ocean shipping freighter, sir, it's a pleasure to have you aboard. The man nodded as he sat in a fairly opulent chair within a magnificent chamber fit for a CEO. He observed the agent holding a file. What's inside the file? The agent approached him and handed him the paperwork, saying, a new target. Our information from Ryozanpaka Dojo indicates that there is a new disciple among their ranks. He paused, taking the man's attention away from the open file. Under the personal tutelage of Hayato Furinji. Really now? The man inquired, his eyes slightly widening as the agent moved anxiously in his place. That'll be all. Hello. Lord Aiche. Aiche nodded as the agent walked away, leaving him alone. After a little period, the leader of Yami examined the images of the young blonde adolescent. Several of them were of him sitting in a park or strolling through Tokyo's various wards and commercial areas, but one in particular struck his eye. It was one from September that had him walking with 2 children, a brown-haired boy and a blonde girl. The 3 was laughing and having a good time, despite the fact that the boy with the band-aid was staring at the girl with a loving gaze. Nothing could ever spoil the moment between them. Ichigo grinned as his thumb brushed gently alongside the girl's face in the photo before returning his gaze to the headband-wearing, smiling child. Naruto Uzumaki. I believe it is time for us to meet. Disciple to disciple. Furinji Island, Japan Sea. Ga. Kateria yelled in frustration as she hurled wave after wave of demonic energy at the wall, only for them to dissipate before reaching the fire. The fire prison was far more powerful than she had thought, much like the Shinigami chief, Yamamoto. No, I will be. The whirling cage of flames began to decelerate and soon vanished, revealing the familiar blue sky and golden sun that she despises. Defeated? All right then, she sneered, arrogantly pleased that things were going her way as she looked for the person responsible for her temporary confinement. What she discovered was not what she had expected. The bloodied Valley gripping his stomach to stem the bleeding, or the breathless Issei whose helmet had broken, exposing part of his face and the holy sword in his left arm. A holy sword? How could he hold it without bursting into flames? She pondered as she let go. If we take down the Red Dragon Emperor, they'll lose one of their main forces. With a flap of her wings, Kateria soared over with her spear poised to slay Issei. That is, until Yamamoto appeared in front of her, seemingly standing in the air. And where exactly do you think you're going? Ha! You Shinigami aren't all that great. Despite your power, I don't see any reason to fear you. She missed to see the Shinigami head captain's slightly widened eyelids. You're so. As she watched Yamamoto's sword slide into its sheath, she sensed something wrong with her body. What? Yamamoto stood motionless, staring blankly at the astonished Kateria before her eyes rolled and her body splintered, dropping to the ground below. He'd cleaved her with one of his sword skills, which he'd honed over the years as head captain. His subordinates feared and admired him because of his swordmanship abilities. Leviathan is now dead, Yamamoto exclaimed, turning back to face a stunned Valley. You look surprised, White Dragon Emperor. Divide. Boost. Both Issei and Valley clenched their teeth as their sacred gears cancelled each other out once more, but the former knows something far worse. My strength is failing. While he controlled the combat, Issei's one good but devastating attack with Ascalon was steadily draining his strength. Ascalon, along with Excalibur, Caliburn, and Durandal, was one of the 4 holy swords created by the god of the Bible. This blade, on the other hand, has the ability to slaughter dragons and anything remotely linked to their kind. This includes the boosted and dividing gear hosts, making the sword much more lethal for them. And Valley is well aware of it. Diedrich, can I channel Ascalon's holy power to enhance my dragon shot? Issei asked, huffing slightly before receiving the red dragon's okay, good. He extended his right palm and began to construct the normally small-sized dragon shot before mentally channeling Ascalon's holy power. When the holy energy flowed from his left arm through his chest into his right arm, he concentrated it into his technique. A sleepy smirk appeared. Valley could only look at the reddish now white orb of demonic and holy powers, her eyes widening in shock. What is he doing? A concerned Rias inquired. He's channeling Ascalon's power into his technique, Azazel observed, intrigued. Issei smiled triumphantly as he prepared to launch his attack. Goodbye, Valley. Holy dragon shot. Punching the sphere, Issei saw his technique transform into the traditional enormous but lethal beam, albeit more powerful and white in hue. As the beam sped across the terrain, upturning sections of it due to its increased power, he and the audience felt the entire island. The holy enhanced strike was successful, resulting in a massive explosion followed by a mushroom cloud as the shockwave blasted surrounding trees out of their roots, upturning many slabs of land even further. Even with Michael, Azazel, and Sirzek's shield in place, everyone inside felt the impact of the attack. Not bad, the head Shinigami observed as the shockwave forcefully ruffled his robes. A little slow, though, he said loudly, clearly to Issei. If you hadn't taken your time, your opponent would have been dead by now, before his friend arrived. Huh. Inside the smoke, a cackling voice echoed. Not bad, Shinigami. You have sharp eyes, and the Red Dragon Emperor. The voice whistled in surprise. Who would have thought you could combine demonic and holy energy, let alone wield a holy sword? As the smoke cleared, the delegates could see the trench forked around him that led to the north side of the island. Their attention was drawn to the person who deflected Issei's holy dragon shot and thereby saved Valley. A young man in red old Chinese armor with short black hair and a black staff in his right hand cackled. Hello there, everyone. Bhikkhu. You know him? Naruto questioned as Yamamoto arrived behind Valley and the now famous Bhikkhu. Sirzek nodded as Azazel completed the sentence. A Yukai and a descendant of Sun Wukong, the first Monkey King, he's probably with the Chaos Brigade. Obviously, Naruto deadpanned before seeing Bhikkhu's inquiring gaze. What are you looking at? You obviously, Bhikkhu said, his right eye arched slightly and he hummed. After a brief pause, he stated, I want to fight you. Naruto deadpanned with a deadpan face once more. Alright, get in line. Valley wants to fight me, even if he doesn't look good right now. True that. Ignoring Valley's stare, Bhikkhu conjured a transportation magic circle and sank inside it with his comrade. I am looking forward to our future battles, Poseidon and Red Dragon Emperor. Wait. Issei tried to take a step, but his legs stumbled, his body succumbing to tiredness. He didn't contact the ground, though, because Naruto, who didn't need to utilize the body flicker because he was already fast from training, stopped him and wrapped his arm around his shoulder. And Naruto, he said to the blonde, who smiled back. Good job. Thank you, was the last thing he could say before closing his eyes and falling asleep, the muted shouts of his companions reaching his ears. As Naruto laid him down and moved aside to allow Rias to kneel beside her love, he looked around and became pale as he saw the devastation around him in the delegates. Upturned sections of land, felled trees that lay next to holes with their roots exposed to the world, and the flames. Wait. Fire! Exclaimed the blonde ninja before extinguishing the flames with a water jutsu, which did little to alleviate his worries. I'm so gone. Michael, Azazel, Searzex, and Yamamoto exchanged glances before turning to face their fellow leader. Why do you say that? A perplexed Searzex inquired. Sweat drops appeared on the leaders' heads as Naruto returned their gaze with watery eyes. My master is going to murder me. As the leaders of the three factions and Yamamoto attempted to console Naruto while the young teenagers surrounded Issei, none of them observed a quick opening and closing of the sky in the distance. Las noches, Mundo Hueco, the scout sent to conduct reconnaissance on the factions, appeared before Aizen in his throne room. He held a modest camcorder, the kind that humans use for everyday activities and formal events. Good job, Aizen said, his ever-present smirk on his face. Sir. Aizen took the camcorder and fired the scout. Aizen played the camera after making sure he was alone, smirking at the video of Valley and Issei's combat. Everything is fine when things come together, as you expect. Ryozanpaka Dojo, Tokyo, Japan, evening. The leaders of the three factions in the Shinigami faction returned to respective realms after magically mending Furinji Island's terrain and magically shifting it to another geographical position. Thus Naruto and Ria had company when they arrived back home in the former's bedroom. So. Naruto was at a loss for words in front of the girl. After discovering from Ria that Medusa had love for him, most likely because he eased the curse and gave her a home, he decided to hold a meeting in his room. In Caesar, Ria and Medusa sat next to each other, while Naruto sat across from them. Aside from the two words in the odd but awkward, hi, the trio hasn't said anything to each other. That is, until Medusa broke the ice. Why are we here? Shouldn't you two be on your date? Said the Kasaka-style follower, biting his lip. Naruto and Ria both looked at her, plainly seeing her anguish. Ria spoke up. We wanted to talk to you about this, she said, attempting to rest her hand on Medusa's shoulder, but it was smacked away. About what? Medusa inquired again, her head slightly down to hide her sad eyes. She didn't notice Naruto and Ria exchanging glances before the former scooted close to her and softly lifted her face with his finger under her chin. When he noticed her wet eyes and quivering lips, the blonde shinobi frowned. Naruto faced Medusa again, exchanging another gaze with Ria, who gave a slight smile. There's something you should know about me, he said as Medusa wiped her tears away and stared at him, indicating that he had her attention. I'm not from around here. From Japan? Naruto asked, shaking his head. Another country? Try another world. Dimension, actually. Medusa? Naruto asked, his fingers snapping in front of her eyes. Medusa? He caught a backhanded slap aimed at his face. Why did you do that? You don't want to hurt my feelings, and yet you tell me a lie? Medusa snarled. Naruto was surprised before placing his hands on her shoulders to prevent her from fleeing. I am not lying to you, Medusa. He's right, Ria said, laying her hand on top of Naruto's. He's not lying. When Ria established contact with Naruto and Medusa, they both felt more calm and collected than usual. That's what happens when you hang out with or date the titaness of comfort, ease, and pleasure. Are you sure? Medusa questioned after a few moments. Naruto gave a slight nod. Then that would explain your powers. Where did you come from? A grin came on Naruto's face and a smile appeared on Rei's. I'd tell you. On our date tonight, he grinned at her shocked expression. Yeah, you heard me. But you and Ria tonight, she now feels awful for postponing their date. I'm truly sorry. Don't be sorry. I'll just go on a date with both of you, Naruto said, smiling at the surprised Medusa. She looked to Ria, who nodded and smiled at her, causing the former priestess to do the same. There's a smile. Alright, Ria said as she led Medusa out of his chamber. We'll be ready in about 2 hours. 2 hours? Naruto exclaimed as the door closed behind the females. What am I supposed to do with myself for 2 hours? After 2 hours, Kenichi dropped in a heap, weary by his daily workout yet again. He's a monster. Of course, this is his everyday training with Naruto. You probably think I'm a monster, don't you? How did he know that? Can he read my mind like Master at Kisame? Naruto dragged the fatigued Kenichi to the dojo before sitting next to him, laughing at his pain. Your technique is improving, Kenichi, and you should be proud of yourself. Thanks, Kenichi answered, proud of himself despite his exhaustion. To be honest, I didn't think you'd make it this far, Naruto said as he noticed Kenichi's sudden melancholy cloud above him. Oh, don't worry, it's a compliment. How is that a compliment? Kenichi asked, before seeing something unusual about Naruto. Your clothes are different. Naruto changed out of his casual attire and into something more respectable. Under his leather jacket, he wore a dark blue-collared long-sleeved shirt, black denim pants, and royal blue-white tennis shoes. Finally, his trusted Konoha headband was fastened to his brow, as it had been since he made genin. Well, I am going on a date. With who? Kenichi inquired. A familiar voice came out from the side. Hello boys. The two boys stared in astonishment at Ria and Medusa, both of them feeling humiliated beneath their sight. The Titaness was dressed in a yellow shirt with cleavage, a white skirt that reached her knees, and matching shoes. Her once long black hair had curled to her shoulders, and her lips were smeared with scarlet lipstick. Medusa was dressed in a green shirt that fitted her body and assets, tight red pants that showed off her curves, and her orange-reddish hair was tied beautifully in an ancient Greek haircut. Overall, the two ladies captivated Naruto, who was drooling at the corner of his mouth. Don't stare at us like that, you're making me nervous, Ria replied with a blush, echoing Medusa's flush. Ideas as well. Naruto scratched his cheek sheepishly after shaking his head. I'm sorry, but you two look stunning and beautiful. Medusa replied with a smile, thank you. Naruto rose and approached them, offering his arms, which they gratefully accepted by putting their arms around his. The trio then proceeded to seal the entrance as Naruto spoke to the still disoriented Kenichi. Don't worry, Kenichi, this will happen to you someday. The multi-style disciple sat there, still dazed, oblivious to Mew's black cat leaping over the dojo wall or a quick flash of yellow light. Japan, Kyoto, so, Medusa, where do you want to go first? When he didn't hear anything but felt a chill down his spine, Naruto turned around and got pale in front of an irate Ria and a pouting Medusa. What? You should have warned us before using your technique, the Titaness grumbled, fighting the need to vomit. Medusa nearly puked, but was able to keep it down with some Kasaka-style breathing methods. Hehe. Sorry about that, Naruto answered sheepishly, ignoring the death glares from passing men and teenage guys. It was the same for the females, who received glares from older women and girls their age, while men and boys stared at them while drooling. Come on. Let's have some fun. The girls smiled as they strolled behind him to discover Kyoto and its charms. Their preparations were thwarted, however, when they heard a yowl behind them. When the trio turned back, they noticed a black cat staring at them, notably at Naruto, who was perplexed by the animal. Hey, isn't that Mew's cat? You're right, Medusa, Ria remarked as she reached for the cat, only to remove her hand when the animal hissed softly. Don't worry. I'm not going to hurt you. Should we go back? The cat calmly turned around and walked into the alley behind it, urging the three to follow. Get back here. Oh man, Mew's going to kill us if we lose her here in the city. They finally cornered the cat on the roof of an apartment complex after chasing her for many city blocks. They had her cornered with a three-pronged attack. Naruto in the center, Ria on the left, and Medusa on the right. Naruto said, it's the end of the line for you. I'm taking you back to the dojo so we can go on our date. He had been disturbed by something else since first meeting the cat. Does this cat have chakra, and if so, why does it feel, no? Then I'm coming, too. Commented the trio as the cat puffed in a puff of smoke. When a beautiful young woman in a black yukata emerged from the smoke, she wrapped her arms around Naruto's neck and placed his head against her huge breasts. They were taken aback. I finally found you, Kuroka triumphantly declared. Kuroka. Naruto exclaimed, suffocating against her breasts. Why am I always surrounded by girls with large breasts? So you don't like it? Kurama teased, smirking. I didn't say that, Naruto answered sarcastically. I'll let him go right now. Medusa faltered, her face flushed. No, Medusa, who was slightly growling, was going to teach her a lesson when Ria moved forward and stopped her. Ria turned to face Kuroka and a breathless Naruto who had returned her gaze. "Why are you here, Kuroka?" "For reasons of my own, thank you very much," Kuroka replied, winking at Naruto. "The main one is him." Naruto blinked as he pointed to himself. "Me? Why?" he asked, shaking his head. "Wait, how did you find out where we live?" Kuroka gave him the "are you serious" look. "Your chakra, duh," she exclaimed, as though the answer was simple. "It's so strong and bright." "But I wasn't at the dojo at the time," Naruto said, tilting his head in confusion. "He was at the island's peace negotiations. In the sea. You sensed for my chakra?" "Yep, and I was actually surprised to sense traces of your chakra on Mew and the cowardly kid." Kuroka mused, surprising Naruto as Ria and Medusa were perplexed. "Traces of my chakra are on Mew and Kenichi." Naruto wondered, "Why didn't I notice that?" Ria chimed in with her 2 cents. "You said you came for Naruto because of his chakra." The Nekomata nodded. "Why? Is it because he's powerful?" "Well," she said, her cheeks flaming as she looked at Naruto, "I want to have his babies." Okinawa, Japan. Yami's base, American military base. "Is everything set?" Ogata inquired of one of Yami's agents, receiving affirmation. "Good. You've been dismissed." "Hi." Noticing the agent's departure, the Yami master stood with his arms crossed, watching his newest apprentice in the traditional X formation. Kabuto jerked open his eyes before driving his elbows into his knees and burrowing his legs hard into the floor to anchor himself. His arms gradually changed position, his right arm raised up in a knife hand, while his left knife hand now below, looking downward. An 18th century gun used in naval conflict between wooden ships was positioned on the other side of him. It was evidently loaded for their usage in training for Kabuto's Ogata-style's animal trine technique. When Ogata saw his student was ready, he flicked his finger at the cannon's igniter, lighting the little fuse as it burnt closer to the cannon's body. A loud crack, boom, rang around the room's walls, echoing as the cannonball sped across the floor and at Kabuto. He stiffened his arms and legs, slightly beaming, as he prepared to perform the technique, which he accomplished when the cannonball was 3 feet near to his face. The room shook as the windows cracked and the floor came free with multiple spider-like cracks as a result of the impact. Ogata stood motionless, staring at the smoke cloud that emerged from the collision, until the smoke cleared his vision. When he observed his disciple, with his right knife hand in front of his face, unharmed while the steaming cannonball was buried into the wall behind him, he cracked a malicious smile. "Good, Kabuto." "Thank you, master," Kabuto said as he raised his legs out of the earth, mirroring his master's smile. "Soon, Naruto. Soon." Japan, Kyoto. "So, let me get this straight. You are a Nekosho, a type of Nekomata who uses Senjutsu and chakra." Kuroka nodded. "And now your race is facing extinction due to various parties killing your species over time, and since your race is all female, you mate with human males to have children." She nodded slowly, with a little pout. "And, since Naruto is a human with chakra and knowledge of Senjutsu, you want to have strong children to keep your race alive." "Yep," Kuroka said with another wink at Naruto, who uncomfortably waved it away. "Why him?" Medusa was enraged. "Because his chakra is strong and bright and..." She blushed slightly as she stared at the blonde. "He's quite handsome." "For the love of Ninshu, another one. You're quite the magnet for women, Naruto." Naruto and Kurama couldn't help but hear a note of jealousy in his voice. "Lucky." Naruto coughed to clear his throat, attracting the attention of the girls. "Kuroka, while I admit you're beautiful." Cue the glares from Ria and Medusa, but the delighted smile from Kuroka. "I told you last time that there's someone for me," he said, looking at Ria. A sigh exited the Nekomata's lips after following the gaze. "I suspected it. She's prettier than me, but..." "But then what?" Kuroka exhaled with a shudder. "But I don't want to go back." The trio was taken aback when tears streamed down her cheeks. She finally let all of her pain out after many years of suffocating it. "I only joined Valley's team for protection from the underworld, but it never took away my fear. The fear of being hunted, captured, and killed one of these days. The fear of never seeing my sister again." Her eyes widened in astonishment as she felt the warm arms of the shinobi wrap around her. Kuroka hugged him as well before sobbing into his shirt, letting out her dread and grief with gasping gasps every now and then. She had never felt anything like this before, possibly because of his chakra's quality, but she felt it was something else. "And Naruto, we should get going. The game starts in a few minutes," Medusa pleaded, wanting to begin the date while leaving her behind. Naruto remained motionless for a long time before unwrapping his arms and standing up before reaching out a hand to Kuroka. "Despite our previous engagement with Aphrodite and Triton, you are filled with grief and sorrow, not hatred or arrogance. You may accompany us, but only on one condition." "What is it?" Kuroka inquired hurriedly, her hopes rising with each passing second. Just don't jump on my bones when I'm sleeping, Naruto implored humbly before turning back to face a clearly delighted Medusa and Ria, albeit the Titaness had a look of understanding in her eyes. However, if she shows any signs of causing harm to anyone in the dojo, including Ria and Medusa, she'll pay dearly for it. Now we're talking, though it would be a shame to get rid of another girl. You remember Seiko's words, right? Kurama teased, causing his Jinchuriki to flush slightly. Naruto coughed quietly behind his hand. Come on, we have to hurry if we want to get an extra ticket for Kuroka. Ticket for what? Kuroka inquired, her brow cocked. Where exactly are we going? Medusa hesitantly said, to watch a sport here in Kyoto. It was invented in America a long time ago, but it is now popular all over the world. Which one are we talking about? Kuroka inquired, given the world's abundance of sports at the moment. She followed the trio by jumping off the roof and landing stealthily on the ground as they mixed with the traffic of passing civilians, despite the fact that most of their attention was focused on Ria, Medusa, and especially Kuroka. Ria responded by hooking her arm around Naruto's, a sport called baseball. 4 days later, in Greece, a cloaked man goes out of a massive door of an ancient temple that formerly worshipped one of the Olympian gods beneath the night sky. The door was supported by a set of pillars from the Corinthian order, the third main class in architecture. You know, my people worshiped the gods long ago. Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Demeter, and all other gods. The figure spoke in a gruff voice, indicating that it was a man. With their guidance and power, we were the highest and mightiest than everyone else. The man walked back inside the temple, a glare hidden beneath his hood, until your kind came along. A bloodied and shackled angel leaned against the base of a damaged and decapitated Olympian statue. His wings were stained with flowing blood, which had fallen and accumulated on the sidewalk, making a pool of blood. His garments were ripped, exposing his scarred abdomen and exposed wounds that were still bleeding. He panted as he looked at the blue glowing rune that resembled a square with an intricate curled 3 inside of it on the wall behind his captor. The angel then looked around the room and noticed the same rune on every wall. He was well aware that he was powerless in the face of such wizardry. His enchantment, it was his kind's magic that was being used against him. The cloaked figure grinned darkly as he followed his prisoner's gaze to the wall. I bet it doesn't feel good, does it? He reached into his coat for something. A book as white as a white lily, with a golden spine and 2 pure silver locks that would keep the book closed at all times unless the passphrase was stated. It took me 30 years to find this book, and another 20 years to find it, he said, pointing to the semi-large casket next to him. And this is a beautiful blade. He drew out a long triple-edged silver blade and grinned when the angel startled at the sight of it glinting in the moonlight. Of course you are afraid. After all, you and your kind wielded this weapon a long time ago, and I killed your 2 friends in The Exorcist. He pointed the dagger towards the still bodies of the exorcist and the withered bodies of the slain angels. On both sides of the bodies, there were ash markings on the ground that resembled wings. Now, I'll ask you again. How do I get into heaven? I will never tell you, the angel exclaimed between heavy breaths. You can't kill all of us, he exclaimed as the tip of the knife threatened to pierce his throat. You can't kill him. Despite his terror, the angel mustered bravery as he returned his gaze to the brown eyes hidden below the cloak. Try me. As the blade flew up through the angel's face from jaw to forehead, he exclaimed. As he yelled in agony, his eyes, nose, and mouth shone with a dazzling white light, and his wings were burnt in flames. As the light faded, the cloaked man pulled out his dagger, watching the wings disintegrate to ash while enduring the angel's shockwave. Angels, he mocked before snapping his fingers. A series of thumping sounds came from behind the statue, belonging to a massive creature with one eye and dressed entirely in armor save for a helmet. In the moonlight that filtered through the damaged roof, a big sword glistened. Cyclops. The giant shivered. Carry the coffin, we're leaving. The cloaked man returned his gaze to the heavens after seeing the monster fulfill his bidding. His right grasp tightened on the hidden dagger as his free hand curled into a fist. In collaboration with Michael Heaven, you'd think that making peace with your mortal foes would reduce your burden, but that's not the case with Michael. In his personal chamber, he had a white wooden-made desk and a huge oval-sized window with a view of heaven's glorious skies. Every leader's worst opponent, both mortal and supernatural, was in front of him on his desk. Paperwork. After signing the final document, Michael leaned back in his chair, letting out a big sigh. I'm finally finished. Maybe this time I'll relax a little. Now, why did he say that? Lord Michael, an angel shouted as he appeared from a white light and kneeled before the archangel. Sir, we have some bad news for you. Michael stood up, his eyes widening, and asked, What is it, brother? The scout dropped his head little more. Brother? Sir. A series of incidents occurred in Greece 5 days ago, the Angel Scout said, lowering his head. A 3-man squad was sent to investigate yesterday, but they haven't checked in since their last report 12 hours ago. The scout added, I'm worried, sir. Michael said, I see. The scout pleaded, Sir, I request permission to find our brethren and aid them. Sir, we must also move quickly. It's only a matter of time before the Chaos Brigade finds out and sends their agents, Michael concluded, pondering his next move. After a little while, he asked his brother to stand, to which he agreed. Did the squad tell you where they were going? They said they were on the land bridge between mainland Greece and the Peloponnese Peninsula, and the incidents were leading them south. He arched his brow when Michael smiled. What exactly are you thinking? I believe we need the assistance of one of Japan's prominent residents, Michael replied. Contact Griselda in Vatican City and inform her that she will be entertained. Tokyo, Japan. Ryozanpaka Dojo. I've never been on a double or triple date, but that was kinda fun, Naruto concluded for Ria, beaming as she returned his smile. Although I didn't get to tell you and Medusa anything more about me. During their date, the 4 supernatural beings went to the first international baseball game between Japan's national team and the New York City Yankees of the United States, where Medusa caught a home run ball in the 6th inning. They then went to a restaurant known for its ramen, which Naruto craved, and the girls, including Kuroka, knew they couldn't convince him. When they returned to Tokyo, Ria and Medusa, accompanied by a sheepish Naruto, warned Kuroka that she must remain in her cat form during her stay in the dojo and gave her a clear warning. Any malevolent attempts on them or anyone in the dojo will be retaliated for tenfold. Yeah, Naruto said as he observed Medusa going out of the main building to begin her Kasaka-style swordmanship and Kenjutsu practice. When their gazes connected, she smiled and waved before returning to his kata practice of the Furinji-style martial art as instructed by his teacher. The masters of Ryozanpaka Dojo apparently brought Kenichi and Mew to the Dark Valley for a training excursion. The second for Kenichi and the first for Mew, so they had the dojo to themselves for a week. That can only imply one thing. Ah. Naruto and Ria exchanged glances, only for the latter to hide the blushing and nose-bleeding former's eyes. In front of them stood an obviously wet and naked Kuroka, drying her hair with a towel. That bath was wonderful. Kuroka, exclaimed Ria, soon joined by a blushing Medusa. Where are your clothes? Kuroka said, in the washer, before smiled when she noticed Naruto. Don't you like my body, Naruto? She chuckled as she headed towards the blonde to torment him even more. She was halted, however, by Rei's arms and observed a pair of garments in Medusa's arms. Why? Because you do not have modesty. While the girls engaged in a skirmish with slaps and finger hooking, Naruto stood there thinking to himself, I'm a lucky guy. He continued marveling at the bodacious beauty, failing to notice a yellowish golden magic circle until it was too late. WH. After successfully putting a shirt and skirt on the Nekomata, Medusa and Ria turned around to chastise their blonde buddy, only to discover him nowhere. The Vatican City in Rome, Italy. Vatican City is one of the holiest and most sacred places in the Christian religion. Despite being in Italy and the city of Rome, it was known for being the world's smallest yet most powerful enclave, city. It was also well known for its magnificent and ancient attractions, including St. Peter's Basilica, the obelisk monuments, and St. Peter's Square. But all church members, high and humble, are aware of the hidden truth of Vatican City, which is the major headquarters of heaven's human emissaries such as the exorcists. The city and its agents are one of heaven's driving armed forces, combating evil and defending people who cannot defend themselves. 3 individuals were kneeling on one of the stands near the pedestal within the hallowed and vast church that is St. Peter's Basilica. Pardon me, Sister Griselda, a youthful voice said to the nun. Griselda was a 30-year-old woman with gray hair and a silver crucifix chained around her neck. What is he like? Who? Irenia. Irenia was a lovely young lady with hazel eyes and chestnut twin ponytails. She was dressed in a white cloak with gold stripes around the collar and a black, short-sleeved, tight bodysuit with a silver cross around her neck. Oh, you mean our visitor? Yes, the second girl said stoically, but with a tinge of apprehension. She was also a lovely young lady with blue hair and a green fringe on the front. She wore the same attire as her companion, but her bodysuit had long sleeves rather than short sleeves. What is he like? After bowing to the cross that hung before him, Griselda rose up. She turned around to face the other girl. I don't know, but Lord Michael seemed confident in this man. He must have a lot of faith in him. But what about an outsider? Zenobia inquired. Griselda noticed a tinge of rage in her tone. What's so special about this outside, anyway? Soon after, a golden, yellow magic circle appeared on stage, capturing their attention as the enticing light lightened the space and their bodies cast shadows behind them. The light decreased until the circle vanished, leaving a befuddled blonde lad of Xenovia and Arinia's age, though Griselda believes he was older. "We're about to find out," Griselda said as she approached him to meet him. Irinia and Xenovia quickly followed her. Naruto glanced at the unknown he was standing in after first calming down. The atmosphere was amazing, with columns of lit candles standing on segmented tables on both walls. He also sensed a sense of strength in this place, and it felt familiar to him. He only felt this familiar sensation when he was close to Michael. "This place has to be holy," he thought as he observed the nun and the girls out of the corner of his left eye. "I hope they have answers for why I'm here," Naruto said as he extended a hand to the nun. "Hello, there." Griselda paused for a time before grabbing the hand in her own. "Hello, young man. My name is Sister Griselda," the two said as they clasped hands. "What is your given name?" "My name is Naruto Uzumaki," exclaimed the shinobi, smiling. The blue-haired girl scoffed angrily, and the twin pony-tailed one gave him a quizzical look. "Could you please tell me where I am and why I am here? I was doing something very important." "Is it important to watch girls wrestle each other?" "Yes, it is. It is every man's dream to see girls wrestle each other." Naruto raged in response to Kurama's question. "You are currently in St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City, Rome," Griselda replied, gazing into the boy's star-studded eyes. "And we need your assistance." When the boy groaned, her eye twitched. "Is there a problem?" "I just wanted to be with Ria and Medusa. And Kuroka." Naruto truly wanted to say something out loud, but he kept it to himself as he replied. "I guess it's just another day's work." The nun nodded sympathetically, as if she understood. "I see. Being the new Poseidon and hence one of the Greek faction commanders can be taxing." When she heard gasps from the girls behind her, she whirled around. "Oh, did I not tell you?" Is he Poseidon?" Irinia sputtered, and Xenovia looked at Naruto, astonished. Naruto clarified the situation. "I'm the new Poseidon. Long ago, the original chose me to be his successor. He didn't want to inform them about his transformation into a god because it would lead them to have a heart attack or faint." The blonde returned her gaze to the nun. "So, what's going on that you need my help with, or any help for that matter?" "The Furingi Treaty has officially passed, but some in the church believe it lost its meaning when we made peace with our enemies." Griselda reacted despondently. "There have been protests from exorcists who believe the pact is a disgrace over the last 4 days, but higher-ups and exorcists who believe in peace have rapidly hushed the opposing faction. Essentially, there is a growing schism between the anti-exorcist and pro-exorcist factions. The former is anti-peace, while the latter is pro-peace. It wasn't only the church and the angel faction, either. It was the same with the fallen angels and the devils, as some sides did not trust peace would remain between them." So, Griselda peered into the boy's eyes, her blue eyes frightening him. "Lord Michael wants to do a trial run to show all 4 factions that we can coexist and work together." Naruto raised his hand like a schoolboy, arching his brow. "How about the battle on Furingi Island against the Chaos Brigade? In the end, we all worked together." This time, it was Irinia who responded. "They believe you were only defending yourself at the time." As he stared up at the ceiling, Naruto scoffed. "They won't accept change until they can see it clearly in front of their eyes, huh?" He took his gaze away from the ceiling to return to the females. "Okay, I'm in." When she heard that, Griselda smiled slightly. "So, what's our trial run going to be?" Griselda informed Naruto of the information that Michael had briefed her on prior to the shinobi's arrival. The odd happenings around southern Greece and the squad of missing angels and the exorcist dispatched to investigate them in their last contact. "There's definitely something going on here." Kurama expressed his interest after hearing the briefing. "There can't be any idiots in the 3 factions who would do something so soon after the treaty. It must be a third party." "Other factions, Kurama?" Ashura interjected, intrigued by this development as well. "Probably. Not to mention Kabuto and Zeus Air, the lightning guy. They might be involved." Naruto made a tiny nod that Irinia and Xenovia missed, but Griselda did. "We'll just have to find out, right?" Before speaking, he posed a rhetorical question. "Do you know where they are?" "We know they were on the trail that started in Athens." Xenovia responded by pulling a map from her cloak and unfolding it to reveal a map of Greece and its islands. She raised it and flipped it so everyone could see it before pointing to the black dot that marked Athens. Then they went southwest on the trail. As she began to speak, her finger deftly drew the squad's track, before turning south here on this narrow swath of land where they last made contact. The trio noticed Xenovia's finger atop the tiny sliver of land that connected mainland Greece, known as Peloponnese in the south. The Isthmus of Corinth was written in letters significantly larger than the rest of the map. That's all? Naruto inquired, and the blue-haired girl responded with a stiff nod. We don't have much to go on, but we have their last location. A massive final location. Irenia adds her voice. Regardless, Griselda chimed in. Your mission is to find the squad, bring them back, and incapacitate the perpetrators of the incidents when possible before bringing them back for interrogation. The three teenagers nodded. A charter plane is leaving in 30 minutes. I recommend that you all get on your way. Naruto halted their advance as Irenia and Xenovia turned back after bowing to their senior and were going to leave to pack. Please wait a moment. The females glanced at him with interest. If this was supposed to be a trial run for the three factions, then we're missing one more person. Who? Xenovia and Irenia both inquired before Naruto gave them a knowing look. She was, after all, your younger sister. To be continued.
That's it for this podcast. Thanks for listening to this video. If you did enjoy this part of the story, like, share and subscribe for more, and thank you all for having support and have a great day.